given by Devarshi and Nayaswami Devarshi and Nayaswami Shankara. We have already listened to their wise words, and let's again greet them and dig into their wisdom. Over to you, sir.
Since we've been sitting for so long, let's all stand up and just do a little bit of deep breathing and stretching. And we can do some deep, full diaphragmatic breathing, part of Ananda Yoga. Bring the hands up along the front of the body. Take a deep, full inhalation, filling the lungs, feeling the energy rising. Rise up on your toes. Exhale. Bring the hands down to the front of the body, magnetizing the body, coming all the way down and forward if you can. Exhale again, filling the diaphragm and the lungs very full. Use the hands as magnets to draw the energy up the spine and upwards. Exhale, coming back down. Once more, come up. Stretching up, filling the body with prana and upliftment. And then exhale, coming back to our standing position. Okay, so a little breathing break, let's sit down now. Today we're talking now, Shankaraji and myself, about yogic principles for material success. That sounds like a contradiction in terms, using yoga principles for material success. And why do we even have a topic like that? Swami Kriyananda was very keen on changing attitudes towards prosperity, towards money, towards many things. Paramahansa Yogananda, he came to show us that we can find God in every part of our lives, and to bring God consciously into every part of our lives. Swamiji tells the story of a man he met in the US. He was a businessman. He was a Kriya Yogi. And he was talking to Swamiji, and he said, Swamiji, this is my meditation room. This is where I start the day, then I go out into the world, and I have to do my business and this and that. And then I come back, and this is where I really do my spiritual practices. And he was expecting some praise from Swamiji for being very spiritual. And Swamiji was actually very disappointed because the man was separating his life into this part of life is not where God is. That was, the biggest part of his life. And then he said, only in this little tiny corner of my life, in this tiny little room, is where God is. And Yogananda brought these teachings to uplift every part of our lives. And in the old dark ages of Kali Yuga, in order to find God, people would flee the world and go up into the mountains and into the caves and into the hermitages. And Yogananda came to bring God into this world and into our lives in such a way that we could I need some water. We could see our search for God as a 24/7 opportunity. And so Swamiji wrote a whole course on material success through yoga principles, about bringing integrity into business, bringing service and seva as a natural part of our business practices, bringing honesty, bringing high energy, bringing divine yogic principles. And what we see at our Ananda Village in California over the years is that fulfilling your dharma, to raise a family or to have a business, and bringing God into that life is really, for some people, it's what they are supposed to be doing in this life. And it is a way to find God. And then when your dharma is fulfilled, you have spent an entire lifetime living yogic principles, spiritual principles, applying them in very real, practical ways. And then from that springboard, then meditation actually becomes much deeper, much greater, and with much more magnetism. And so the main yogic principle to apply towards material success, really success in anything in life, is the understanding of magnetism. And magnetism really is what attracts success. People think they achieve success, but really what people do is that by putting out a lot of energy, a lot of willpower, a lot of attunement to the divine, which creates this magnetic connection that we have with the divine that changes our magnetism. All these ways create such a strong magnetism that we start attracting success, that we start attracting the right kinds of friends, the right kinds of opportunities. Believe it or not, even the right thoughts. Yogananda Swamiji would often talk about one of the most revolutionary statements in Autobiography of a Yogi is when Yogananda Ji wrote that thoughts are universally and not individually rooted. Thoughts are universally and not individually rooted, meaning that thoughts are not our own. We don't create a thought. All we do is that by uplifting our consciousness, we put ourselves into a realm, into a space, and into a magnetism that it attracts solutions to our problems. I share in the Kriya Yoga book that when I was on Swami Kriyananda's staff, there was a big addition and construction project where he lived called Crystal Hermitage. And when it was done, I was given the task of following up with all the parts that weren't working. The contractors had all left. It was a large project, a lot of buildings, and landscaping was done. And he asked me to complete things that weren't quite finished. And there was a problem with the plumbing that was causing a really annoying noise where Swamiji was doing his writing. And all the plumbers, all the experts came, they looked at it, they couldn't solve it. They tried all the standard things from the book that you're supposed to do and from their experience, and they could not solve the problem. I wasn't a plumber, I wasn't knowledgeable, I had some, a little bit of experience with it. And they all left, and Swamiji kept asking me, when are you going to fix this problem? It's really bothering my writing, this noise that's constantly sort of distracting me here. And I couldn't turn to anybody else. And one day I was practicing Kriya Yoga, solve all problems through Kriya Yoga, like the Hari Mahashai said, even plumbing problems. And as I was meditating, I practiced Kriya Yoga. I wasn't thinking about my problem, but I was in a good uplifted state. I wasn't in a samadhi or anything like that. But in that uplifted state, without asking for it or even thinking about it, the answer to that problem came. It was a very unorthodox answer. It was very one-of-a-kind problem and one-of-a-kind answer. And it was the solution to that problem. So even plumbing problems, do more Kriya Yoga, any kind of a problem. And the reason is it changes your magnetism. And when our magnetism is in an uplifted and energetic and magnetic state, we attract the solution to our problems. So think in terms of changing our magnetism. Everything that we've talked about today, in some way, the way that it really, in the end, sort of the science and the yogic science of it, the reason why they work is because these things change our magnetism. Now, there's two particular ways that I want to talk about changing magnetism, and then Shankara Ji will talk more about applying them in this world, this realm of material success. But to change our magnetism, one, it requires more energy. Yogananda, sort of an aphorism of his that we repeat a lot, the greater the will, the greater the flow of energy. These energization exercises that we teach here at our center, that Yogananda taught, these different affirmations that we do with wrapping the head and all these things, they help us to generate positive energy and to increase the flow of energy. So remember, the greater the willpower, willingness, the greater the flow of energy. And then after that, Yoganandaji said, the greater the flow of energy, the greater the magnetism. The greater the flow of energy, the greater the magnetism. And so when we live with energy, with willpower, when we rise to meet challenges and tests, very often the tests that God and the Guru give us in life are not meant to punish us. Karma, people are very mistaken about karma. It's not sent to punish us. It's sent to help us to learn and to grow. And many of the challenges of karma, they are challenging us to put out more energy. And so all the different ways that we can put out more energy starts to change our magnetism. So magnetism is changed by generating more energy. This is the principle of the electromagnet. An electromagnet is a wire, a coil, a wire, and there's a strong current of energy flowing through that wire that creates a magnetic field around it. And so our part is to put out more energy, more willpower, more conscious awareness in everything that we do, and start generating more magnetism that way. The second way that we work with magnetism, I touched on it this morning, and I talked about the Guru's magnetism and the Guru's power. Yogananda would tell his close disciples, it was probably the only main teaching he would give to those who were really close. He would say, stay in tune, get in tune with the Guru. And what that means is that when we tune into the Guru's consciousness, through prayer, through meditation, through reading his words, his magnetism starts to change our own magnetism. I had a friend who told me a really interesting story. There was a person in Ananda who could read people's auras, and he could read the size of their aura. And the aura really is just a way of seeing someone's magnetism. People who are magnetic have a very strong and big aura. And so he was able to test the range and the strength of people's auras. And he did an experiment with people where he had them do different actions to see how it affected their magnetism and their aura. And sitting in front of a computer for a long time, aura, magnetism got real small. Doing the energization exercises, magnetism increased. One interesting thing that he did was he gave people 2 paper bags, and in those paper bags was 2 different books. He didn't say which bag, which book. And he had people hold this one bag and then hold the other. And whenever they held one bag, their aura increased, their magnetism increased. When they held the other bag, no one knew what was in those bags. And so finally he didn't know either, the person doing the experiment. They opened the bags. The one that caused people's magnetism to increase and to get really strong, Autobiography of a Yogi. That book itself has a magnetism and a power. The other book was some mystery thriller book or something like that that caused magnetism to decrease. So this is the power of the Guru's magnetism. But everybody has magnetism. Yoganandaji said that if you want to succeed, and I think he was talking about business, but it's the same with everything. He said, go find successful business people. He said, shake their hands. He said, when you shake the hands of someone, it creates a magnetic current between the 2 people. Shake the hands of people who are successful, and you will draw on their magnetism. He would also say, spend time with those people. Join a business group that has successful people, and just be around those people, and your magnetism will change. For people who are wanting to meditate more, be around people who meditate more. People who are in tune with Yogananda. This is what a Sangha is. It really is, a Sangha is, you could call it the Ananda Sangha of magnetism, almost, because the whole concept of a Sangha is to help all of us, each other, with that magnetic power. And our magnetism changes over time by being with other people who have achieved some success spiritually, materially, artistically. If you want to be a great artist, go spend time with other great artists, music, whatever it is. And so try to view whatever you're trying to achieve in life. Yes, we need to study, we need to learn the techniques and the tools, but even there, if you study with energy and really learn and apply yourself, you're generating magnetism. And so try to view the world, our objective goals in life, everything we're trying to do, spiritually, physically with health even, materially with helping to, say, raise a family or a business. View everything in terms of magnetism. Hire people, if you run a business, who are magnetic, who have energy. One of the secrets, we're developing a monastery for our brahmacharis and monks outside of Chandigarh, Panchkula. And I read something once that I think is secret to success of some great business founder. He said the secret is hire a bunch of people who are all way smarter than you are. And I've seen the truth that hire people or surround yourself with people who have energy and magnetism, and don't be intimidated by being around bright people. Because sometimes I think some people like to be around people who are less energetic because it makes them feel like I'm, better or I'm stronger than them or whatever. But be around people who have more energy and magnetism. It will really start to change us. In the end, Swami Kriyananda would often quote a saying, I think of Adi Shankara, where he said, "One moment in the company of a saint can be your raft across the ocean of delusion." And this is what really tuning into the Guru, meditating on the Guru, being in the Guru's presence, reading autobiography of the yogi, it can be the raft across the ocean of delusion and can change our magnetism. And the application of that principle in every part of our life, including success, materially, prosperity, which is important for people. I mean, people who are living in really abject poverty, it's more difficult to learn to meditate and to help others and to serve others, because one of the great benefits of developing some prosperity is being able to help other people. And that's what we all want to do, isn't it? And so these principles are very important. Shankaraji will talk now, but I also just want to really recommend Swamiji's Material Success Through Yoga Principles as a real guide. And I'll read just two things, just to finish my part. Swami Kriyananda writes, "Energy generates magnetism. The stronger the flow of energy, the greater the magnetism. It is magnetism, finally, that attracts to us all that we receive in life." And now I'm going to read a simple exercise for developing magnetism. This is something of a guided meditation. So let's sit up in our chairs, sit up straight, shoulders back, chest out. And close your eyes and gaze upward to the point between the eyebrows. And listen to these words of Swami Kriyananda. "Magnetism is the secret of all success. It is the secret of all true inspiration and of high creativity. To develop it in the best way, first concentrate on the energy in the heart." So let's do that. Eyes still gazing upwards. Try to feel the energy in the heart. Now raise that energy to the point between the eyebrows and feel that the upper part of your body is encircled by a golden light. Feel that light centered finally in the top of the head, the Sahasrara. This practice will fill you with magnetism. It will fill you above all with bliss. And then Swamiji writes, "Now then, for creativity, send that energy outward through the point between the eyebrows. Feel magnetism and inspiration in this outflow of energy. Direct them toward whatever task you want to work on creatively.
Thank you, Devarshi. Okay, so material success through yoga principles. I want to start with a little story. Imagine a person who has no energy, who more or less sleeps under a tree every day and maybe begs a little bit for food. And imagine one day he wakes up and he says, I'm tired of being a beggar and having nothing. I am going to become a crorepati. And he says, I'm going to use my will, and like Devarshi was saying, go and study with other people who know what they're doing and learn from them, and I'm going to put out everything I can to make this my goal. The whole world would clap and say, very good, very good. And now imagine Mahatma Gandhi one day said, I'm tired of serving humanity. This, it's not fun anymore, forget this. I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to becoming a crorepati and forget all this. I'm going to just want money from here on out. Even the most greedy businessman would say, something's wrong here. This man has fallen. And so not everybody would clap. Something's gone off. What happened here? So this is very important because it means that the goals for each one of us are different, and we will define material success in a different way, depending on what is our unique dharma. Swami Kriyananda wrote this course, Material Success Through Yoga Principles, because he was lying in a hospital bed in Gurgaon, and he said he was not looking like a model of success in any way, that he was just out on the bed. And a doctor came in to serve him, and the doctor said, you are a Swami, I need help. And I have a son who's in college in Canada, and it's not possible for me without cutting corners here and there, charge a little more for this, prescribe a little medicine here, not needed, not terrible things, but just these little things in order so that I have this son. I need to put him through college. Isn't that the higher dharma? And Swamiji said, no. And he quoted something. Swamiji met the Maharaj of Kuch Bihar, who told him, Yata Dharma Tata Jaya. Where there is dharma, there is victory. And in today's world, we look at the leaders of the world, we watch all kinds of nonsense on TV and Facebook and all of this, and we think, really? Where there's dharma, there's victory? But Swami Kriyananda built Ananda on this principle. And it started with just a few great souls who were into the Swamiji. In fact, this is another funny story. There was a time in California at Ananda Village that a newspaper reporter came, and there was a group of people, and they were doing affirmations for material success. And at that time, there was not a lot of good buildings or material success. I think they may have been in a tent or something, and they were chanting, we are successful, we are materially successful. I don't know what the chant was. That newspaper reporter came in and looked at these people and thought, hey, these guys, they've lost it. And he went to the newspaper and he actually wrote some article that was not nice about these people. But you look into the future, you look 30 years, 40 years, Ananda's all over the world now, and it is strong, and it is very successful. Why? Because Swami Kriyananda always went with the principle that where there is dharma, there is victory. Many years ago, I think it was 40 years ago, in Delhi, a man told Swamiji, oh, you want some land in Delhi? I will give you land. I will just buy the votes of everyone, all the trustees on the board of this organization I'm in. Swamiji said, I won't take a piece of land that is given like that. And the man didn't believe Swamiji. He thought, once I give him a piece of land, of course, and then he'll do what I tell him to do. So the man went and bought everybody's votes in whatever organization he was on the board. And he came, okay, Swamiji, I have your piece of land. Swami Kriyananda said, I told you, I don't want that land. I will not take it. It has not been given with dharma. Another personal experience I had with Swamiji, I was in Calcutta, and a man came to us and said, I have some land that I want to donate to your organization. I went back to Swamiji very happy, thought, wow, okay, we have land now. I said, Swamiji, this person said he's going to give us his land. Swamiji said, I don't want it. And the reason why is we have a piece of land already that we are trying to develop. We must focus all of our energy on this piece of land. For me to tell this man that I will do this and on his land when I know I don't have the manpower, the resources to do it right now would not be dharmic. So just go tell him we don't want it right now. And in Kolkata, this created a bit of a stir within our congregation. People were saying, just take it and take the money and sell it and do something later. But Swamiji didn't function like that. That if he told someone that he was going to do something, he would do it. Another story about Swamiji is when he was in Assisi, Italy. We have a community there. And he asked for hot chocolate. For whatever reason, no one could go out and find hot chocolate. Finally, after an hour or something, someone brought him a cup of hot chocolate. And they said, here's your hot chocolate, Swamiji, but I kind of had to tell a lie in order. I was going to the restaurants and I said, I need this for a pregnant lady. And so that's how Swamiji got this hot chocolate. He said, you shouldn't have said that. He said, had you found a pregnant lady and given her even a little sip, then it would have been okay. You see, you could bend things a little bit. But he said that wasn't good. And it's interesting, we should know the difference between a fact and the truth. That you can bend things here a little bit means that, let's say there's a man who's in the hospital and he's not looking very good. You could go in and you could say, oh, you don't look good, this is the worst I've ever seen you, oh my gosh, this isn't looking good. That would not be a beneficial thing to say. Truth is always beneficial. And, or you could go in and you could say, well, it could be worse. I'm sure that you're going to be doing better tomorrow, and we all go through tough things, but I know that you're a fighter. Or whatever way you want to say, something positive. In terms of healing, when we do affirmations, that if we're not feeling well, when I first heard about affirmations, I thought, okay, I'm supposed to affirm, I am well, I am enthusiastic right now. When I'm feeling terrible, I thought, this is lying if I tell myself I'm feeling well right now. And so I asked Swami Kriyananda about this. He said, no, you're not lying. That your soul is always feeling well and is always healthy and happy. And for you to affirm, I am well, even when your physical body isn't well, that's not lying. This is the actual truth. So there's a difference between facts and truth. And we need to learn to tune into these things as we learn to understand what Dharma is. I also want you to understand this, that if you are building a business, you think that customer who just came in and is going to give you whatever the business is just some guy, and then he leaves. That is God in that person who has come into your business. And another principle of Swamiji's was, if he went into a business and he asked, do you have this product? And the person said, no. Then he would ask, okay, can you tell me where I can find it? If they said, oh yes, go down 3 shops and that person has it, Swamiji would come back again and again to that particular shop owner. If the shop owner, no, I don't know, not my problem, you go figure it out there, then that relationship wasn't made. And these relationships in businesses, do you ever think why perhaps you go to a particular hotel, I don't know, when you go to Delhi or here or there, you have all of these choices, yet you may feel that you go to this one again and again. It's because of magnetism. That even the CEOs of these big companies, that they have magnetism. And we've all lived many lives together, and we feel loyalty towards people that we haven't even met before. And if you are running a business, the thing to do is to build those relationships with your customers, where you know that you have trust with one another, and where it's not competition. That if you live in a village, let's say, with 1,000 other people, you could have 1,000, or you could have 999 enemies, or you could have 999 friends. And as you build a business, that every person who comes through the door, every phone call that you make, that you can think, I want to have a friend here. I want one more friendship. And these things take time, but all relationships, all good things in life, they come in time. It takes time. One of my friends, he was building one of our centers in America, one of our meditation centers, and one day he just didn't know what to do. He knew it was his job to try to attract people there. This was a long time ago. We don't have phone books anymore, but in those days they had the phone book, so he just opened the phone book and just called the first person. Hello, hi, my name's Haridas. Would you like to learn that? No. So again and again and again. There's still a person at Ananda this day, 40 years later, that came from that phone calling campaign that he single-handedly did. That he decided he was just going to put energy out, even if it was not in the most intellectual way that you could think of. You can always think of something in order to raise the energy. And now, as Devarshi ji was saying, it is not wrong to have material success. Let me tell you this point. I think it was St. Paul of, I already forgot. I don't know, it doesn't matter. One of these St. Pauls, let's just say, but he's quoted as saying, money is the root of all evil. Swami Kriyananda said that's wrong, actually. Money is not the root of all evil. Desire for money is the root of all evil. And this is a very important distinction to understand. If we want money and we think in this money is going to make me happy, then we'll constantly be chasing it. Like the donkey with the carrot on the stick and the donkey just keeps running. That's many of us thinking if I just had this much more money. In America, a survey was done and they asked everyone, people who may be earning, this was in America, so I don't know, $10,000 a month or $100,000 a month or whatever, $1 million a month. They asked them all, how much more money would you need in order to be happy? And each of these categories, they said, oh, if I just had about 10% more. And that 10% is that carrot on the stick. So we have to realize that to not have desire for it. But actually, when Harpriyaji was speaking earlier this afternoon, she was talking about she doesn't feel stress anymore about how are her children going to come up. And I just want to emphasize that the speakers that we had speaking about families, they have the finest families. These are like the model families that everyone would want to have. Their children, their homes, their businesses, everything that they do is so wonderful. And so, when she said that, you could think, I mean, she doesn't care about her kids. She's like not doing her duties, not at all. She's completely doing her duties. And so now bringing this to the business side of things, to think I'm not worried about the outcome of this, nishkam karm, but that doesn't mean that you don't do your duties. You still have to do your duties. Here's another very important point about money and success. That as we gain more success and more money, if that's what you want to do, at some point you begin to realize, how much of this money can I spend on myself? What's the point of having all of this money? And we begin to realize that actually what money is responsibility. That more and more responsibility starts coming to us to help uplift those of us around us. I talk a lot about Swami Kriyananda, I apologize, but he's basically my hero, and so you guys will just have to accept it. But Swami Kriyananda once was at the Howrah railway station in Kolkata, and a beggar came up to him, a girl maybe 14, 15 years old, and she put her hand out in a very weird way. And Swamiji didn't talk about his cities, but he could tell, he knew all of your lives just by looking at you. And so he didn't say it like, I know that this girl, blah, 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 but basically he knew this girl who was begging in this incarnation had been a queen in her past life, but she took all of those riches and just decided to use them for herself. And so by the law of karma and her greed, that her next incarnation she was born as a beggar at Howrah railway station in Kolkata. And so that's a very scary thought, isn't it? What will you want to do with your wealth in this incarnation? Will you want to just only use it on yourself? Or will you want to emphasize the principles of Dharma? And will you want to see how much you can help others come up? And the purpose of life, so many people think that they want to be the richest man in the world. I look at that as just, oh no, if I had that as a desire, there goes one more wasted incarnation for me. For me, that would be just, it would actually be a hell of thinking, okay, here's all this money and all this and that, but what's the purpose of this? What's the purpose of all of this? Is the purpose to have more money than any human being on the planet? Is that why God created us? No. That's just one more incarnation. You can choose to go through that incarnation if you want. Or you can get a little bit wiser, a little bit smarter. Say, hey God, we'll leave that one. I don't need all that. That I choose you. I want you. You can let other people learn your lessons for you. That you can see other people and see, is this working for him? And look at people. Look at their faces. Look in their eyes. The eyes are the windows of the soul. The eyes can't lie. That you can look into people's lives and you can see they might have a lot of money, but are they happy? And you have to look, and some people, they can have lots of wealth, and if they're sharing it with others, and everyone who's around, they're trying to help them come up, and they're asking God every day, God, what do you want me to do with this wealth? And God, this wealth is yours anyways, then you will see they can be perfectly happy. So it has nothing to do with what the amount, the number that is in the bank account. It is our attitude towards that. And even if we are in a place, I give these lectures, people come up afterwards and they say, but Shankara, I want money. I'm not going to pretend. That's okay. You cannot suppress your desires. To try to just pretend, oh, I hope nobody saw that, and I hope God doesn't know about this. God knows about all of it. Take all of your desires, whatever they are, and do them with God. Don't try to hide them from God. And let's say you even have a bad habit. Paramahansa Yogananda had a student in his school at Ranchi, and the student, he smoked cigarettes, he just couldn't help it. And Master said, I know all about it. He said, I only ask you one thing, that the next time you want to smoke, come and do it in my presence. And what he was saying was, don't try to hide your faults from God. Don't try to hide your desires from God. That if we bring God into the picture, that we will spiritualize these desires. We will see that God has given this thing called money for a reason. For us to, money is, by the way, nothing more than energy. And that we can learn how to take that energy and how to spiritualize it, and how to have more and more of that, how to have more and more energy, and how to use that properly. And all of it is so that we can learn, as he was talking about, the laws of magnetism. So that then, first we begin to magnetize material things. We say, mujhe ek ghar chahiye, and I want this, and I want that. And then eventually, once we have enough material things, we realize we can magnetize other things. We can magnetize success, as he was saying. We can, to be successful in that meditation, we can magnetize peace. We can magnetize joy. We can magnetize deep, deep friendships from other lifetimes. You may have met someone and you just feel, this is my friend, I just love this person. You can magnetize those people from other lifetimes into your life. But you have to know what you're doing. And we have to start where we are and learn how all of these laws of God work. And they are not mysteries. That as we grow spiritually, we will learn all of the laws. And as one of our other speakers was saying, I believe that it was Naveen, that then it's not going to be just this is something that I read in a book, that we have to experience it. And we have to experience absolutely all of these different things that make life life. And this is how life becomes so beautiful. When you wake up in the morning, do you think, oh, here we go again, I have to go to work. Okay, well, I don't want to go to work, but well, I have to make money, so okay, I'll go to work. Or do we wake up in the morning and think, all right, it's another day where I can serve other people and where I can give my joy to other people in my business, which makes my business more magnetic and which makes more people want to come. There's different ways, obviously, of looking at life, but we get to change our attitude and we can learn how to achieve absolutely anything and how to draw anything to us. And I've had other people come up to me at the end of lectures and say, Shankara, anything? I can learn to have, now come up, anything? Yes, but I have to put a caveat. You know the lawyers, they like those little asterisks with the fine print at the bottom, that there is some fine print to this. That as you grow spiritually, as you energize yourself and you have more and more energy flowing through you and you learn how to become more magnetic, that what you want is going to change. Just like when you were a little child, you may have wanted certain things, and now you look at those things and think, I don't want those anymore, that's silly. The same place that you are now spiritually, you are going to grow, you are going to evolve. And then the things that you think that you want now, oh so badly, that you are going to change and you are going to realize that you don't want those things anymore. Just like the story of Mahatma Gandhi and the beggar under the tree, we are all somewhere in between those two poles on the spectrum somewhere. But as we grow towards becoming a saint, becoming a Mahatma Gandhi, that eventually we are going to realize that then we won't even want money whatsoever. And I want you to think about this. You guys can visualize the most expensive, fancy, 5-star hotel in Ludhiana. I'm not sure which one that may be. I'm sure all of you know. And when I've been with people, they walk into places like that, and they think, yes, this is for me. This is exactly where I belong, and the whole world should see that I'm here, and this is the way that it's supposed to be. And other people walk into a place like that, and they think, oh, no, I don't belong here. This isn't for me. I don't know. I hope my friend is going to pay the bill because I'm not sure about this. You know, both of those attitudes are wrong. That if God brings you into that place, all right. You know, a friend of mine, we were in Kolkata, we had one meal, I think it cost 30 rupees, actually, for both of us. Then the next evening, we went to a different restaurant. It cost 3,000 rupees for the two of us. Fine, but we were happy. This one comes, all right. That one comes, all right. It's learning to see whatever comes of itself, let it come. And it's learning to just be neutral under all circumstances. Learning, as Devarshi was saying this morning, to control the reactive process and not react to all of these different things. And whatever God gives us, it's all right. And if we have that attitude, then we can be absolutely happy. We all know the Gita here. We all know Nishkamkara. But can we actually do it? It's not easy to actually do that. But learn to watch, learn to control your mind. You know, as I was speaking about, if you really want money, all right. Then you're going to learn to control your energy via that. And then from that step, we can learn to control our mind. We are not going to be able to control our mind without learning to control the energy. The energy is the missing link between matter and mind. And to think that I'm just going to sit down now and meditate and completely control my mind, is not possible. And to think that I'm only going to think only happy thoughts from now on, that my thoughts are creating my reality. They are, but you're co-creating with God. And you won't be able to do it without gaining control of the energy. I need to stop talking once again, but a final point here is another very important principle, a yoga principle for material success is concentration. But I got us onto the topic of mind now. But do you think if you go into your office, and I've seen so many offices like this, people are paid to be there for 8 hours, 10 hours a day, and they're supposed to be whatever, entering in all these numbers into a spreadsheet, or making 50 phone calls a day, or sending, 25 emails, or whatever the case is. People send like one email, and then they get up and they go and they have some chai, and then they come back down, and then their friend goes, "Oh, I'm at work, okay." And then they start thinking about, this problem and that problem. People honestly at work don't work that much. But those who are successful in business, they do. And what is their secret? It's concentration. That they put the phone on silent, that they don't get up and have chai every, 15 minutes. That they sit there, whatever they put their mind to, they concentrate on it. And if we want to have material success, we have to learn to concentrate like that. And if you learn the techniques that we give in these classes, don't think that those techniques are only going to help you in your meditation room. You have to learn to take those techniques of concentration, bring them into your business, and see, can you expand and expand and expand your business? Once you plant a tree, if you want that tree to continue to be healthy, it has to grow. You cannot, well, unless you do the bonsai thing and keep cutting it, but generally speaking, it's going to have more leaves, more branches, a bigger trunk every year. The same with your business, that you can't just let it just stagnate. Once you've planted that seed and it starts to grow, you have to keep it growing. You have to keep it growing with your own energy, with your own concentration, with your own willpower. And yoga is going to give you all of these things. Concentration, willpower, the ability to know what is Dharma, and everything that you will need so that you can have a balanced life and become a saint in this lifetime and enjoy this life outwardly as well as inwardly. So thank you all for listening.